Hello, sports fans. This is Steven here for JustMyPicks.com, and I'm bringing you a special NBA breakdown. We have a special debate today. I'm going to be covering the greatest champion of all time in the NBA. A lot of people, and it's been all over the place: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these posts about Michael Jordan being the greatest of all time. And I sit back and think, how old are these people that say Michael Jordan is the greatest? How far along have they been watching basketball? Did their basketball only start in the 80s? Did their basketball only start in the 90s? A lot of people get caught up in the moment. A lot of people talk about how LeBron James is the greatest, how people talk about how Kobe is the greatest. A lot of these people go through and you can make your claim with several arguments against several great players in basketball or any other sport for that matter. But when it comes down to it, I look at three things are key in order to put somebody as the greatest of all time. Number one, did they make their team better? When I say did they make their team better, there's two types of superstars in the NBA. There's kinds that make himself look good at the expense of the team, or the kind that makes the players around him look great and make them look better also. And it's a team thing, and they're all doing it at once. When I look back on a lot of the greats from the 50s, the 40s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even today, it's a common theme. Great players make players around them better, no matter if they were superstars, role players, whatever the case may be. When you have somebody that is a great player, he makes everybody look better when they play with him. To me, there's only two players in this debate. There's Michael Jordan, and then there's Bill Russell. Michael Jordan gets a lot of fame and criticized about some of the things he's done as far as management. But Michael Jordan was a great player. As a player, he drove people that played with him nuts because he was a high-willed player. He didn't really, it was either my way or the highway when he was playing. He did stuff, some would say backwards, but he got the most out of the people that were around him. And with that being said, you have to look at the dynamics of basketball, and he was able to take his brand, the Jordan brand, team up with Nike, and really make something huge, something marketable that's even marketable today. When I look at Bill Russell, he didn't have that chance to do that back in the day. Back in the day, we still were dealing with racism, like we still are today, but it was to a different level. We didn't have all the rights that we have now in place that gave everyone a fair share of doing every single thing in life. We weren't allowed to have black presidents back then. We weren't allowed to do a lot of things back then. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, if Bill Russell was allowed to do those same things, could he make the same amount of changes and the same amount of things happen back then as now? I mean, it's a big debate. But when I look at it, Michael Jordan went 6 for 6 in NBA championships. He won a lot of MVPs. He won a lot of MVP finals MVPs. So, yes. But I look at the keys in those championships being Michael Jordan. If it wasn't strictly Michael Jordan, it was either Scottie Pippen and Phil Jackson and the other counterparts. But Michael Jordan, I would say, was a huge piece to those championships. Also a cornerstone. But when I look at Bill Russell, 11 championships in 13 seasons. Not many people can say that they've won 11 or a certain amount in a row. It's hard for me because we cannot control when we're born on earth. And because we cannot control that, that means that when he was born, when he became a professional NBA player, he did what he did and dominated no matter who came to the table. And we look at Bill Russell, and a lot of people say he's old and he didn't have any competition. I don't call Wilt Chamberlain a chump. You know, Wilt Chamberlain was one of the best players in the league. And yes, he had players like Bob Cousy on his team, but for the most part, he was the cornerstone. He was the defensive cornerstone, the rebounding cornerstone. We see he has 20+ thousand rebounds. He did a lot of good things. He played defense at a high level. And a lot of those Lakers versus Celtics series, when they went back and forth, he was the deciding factor in all those game 7s, in all those game 5s. You know, so when I look at the big picture, Bill Russell is an outstanding champion. That's why his namesake is on the NBA MVP for the finals, because you're playing at an elite level. And you know, a lot of people need to go back in history. This isn't a knock on Michael Jordan, but there's no way I'm taking 6 championships over 11 championships, especially in 13 years. How many years did Michael Jordan play without winning a championship? Let's just put that into the air real quick. Let's just talk about how Michael Jordan failed a lot of times against the Detroit Pistons or the New York Knicks or the Larry Bird Celtics. Let's talk about how Michael Jordan didn't beat a lot of those win a lot of those championships against elite level of competition. When he beat Magic Johnson was older. When he finally got past Larry Bird and the Celtics, Larry Bird had a bad back and the Celtics were old. You know, when he finally got past the Pistons they had already reached their peak and were topping out. You know, so yes, he did beat Charles Barkley and the Suns, and he did beat the Supersonics, but he also beat an old Karl Malone and an old John Stockton. So you look at when people devalue Bill Russell's championships and they devalue these things, this is the argument that you're going to hear from me. Because Bill Russell put his shoes on one at a time, just like Michael Jordan. He came and he delivered championships just like Michael Jordan. And to that fact, he got 5 more than Michael Jordan. So I'm going to ask you this. Who's the greatest champion of all time? If I said you can have $6 million or $11 million, what would you take? If I gave you 6 NBA titles or 11 NBA titles, what would you take? So for me, it's a closed case shut. A lot of people talk about just because you have rings, you're great. That doesn't mean anything. Robert Horry has a lot of championships, but he wasn't the key factor in all those championships. You look at Mark Madison having championships with the Lakers. He didn't do a lot. Even Darko Milicic got a ring. That doesn't mean he's better than LeBron or Wade or Melo. You know, so for me, I just see the big picture. I see Bill Russell as being the greatest player to ever play basketball. You look at how he carries himself, how he's an ambassador. It's not to say that other players don't do it, but other players have not done it to his level or to his timeline. 11 rings in 13 years. That is truly a dynasty. There's never been another player to win those kind of championships at that time, and he also did it sometime as a player coach. So you have to put your hat off to Bill Russell. If you have a response, let me know who your top greatest players of all time are. They don't have to have a championship in your opinion if they don't need to. A lot of people were talking about in New York, Patrick Ewing, and a lot of people were talking about Charles Barkley. Give me who your greatest champion of all time is. Whether you feel like they're a champion because of the way they played and they didn't win a championship, or because they actually have a ring. You know, there's a lot of greats in the NBA history, from Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy. The list goes on and on and on. So let me know what you think. Also, check me out at justmypicks.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at justmypicks.tv. Also, check out my YouTube channel and subscribe to my videos. YouTube / JustMyPicksTV. Thank you very much for subscribing, and please comment and share my videos.